Hello everyone, welcome to BunkaMania here on Bunkazilla UK. I am Jeremy Graves, I am joined by my cohort in crime, who this week I will describe as my Randy Orton if I'm Edge and rated RKO. It is the one and only Mr. Iain Boulton. Iain, how you doing?
Hello, I will take that. So technically I'm Edge in this equation. So I'm Edge, so that's good. I can spare people, that's fine. Yes, rated RKO.
You could say you could be giving people tonight an education.
Ah, well played. Yes.
Whereas I guess I'm just going to be, I don't want to say just knocking out people. That just sounds really bad. I hadn't thought about that.
You just turn up and do RKOs. Basically, you just, when you least expect it, just slide out of nowhere like the apex predator that you are, deliver an RKO, do the pose, and off you go.
If there's one thing I've never been called in my life, it's an apex predator. You flatter me. Folks, welcome to BunkaMania. We are recording this on the 13th of July for reference today. And we are here to have just a good little chinwag about some wrestling-related things. We'll probably be touching a little bit on NXT'S Great American Bash event that they had last week at the time of recording. AEW's first show on the road since we've been back. Talking a little bit about Money in the Bank coming up this weekend. And who knows what else. We'll just see how we go for about an hour or so. So,
yes.
So, Iain, I think to begin with, let's just... I'm just going to get straight to it. And I will say from the outset, people, if you would like to know more about Bunkazilla and what BunkaMania is a part of, make sure you visit bunkazilla.co.uk. There you can find all of the information regarding Bunkazilla, including all of the programming that is on this wonderful, wonderful, monstrous, culturous place, as it were. Monstrous culturous is a new phrase I've just come up with, but I'm going to keep it. And you can find out all the details on how to keep track of us as well, but we'll have more details on all of that later for you in the programme.
And before we, just to politely butt in there as well, if you're listening or watching this on whatever format, you might be watching the YouTube video of this, or you're listening to the audio podcast, there are chapter descriptions available in both descriptions. So if there's a particular place you want to jump to straight away, so if you just want to hear us talk about AEW, click the link on the YouTube channel, or just go to the timecode in the audio version. It's that simple. So you can digest the content that you want from this episode straight away.
There you go. And if you don't want to hear me rabbiting on about something from like 10, 15 years ago, that's the way to get past that, folks. But I say 10 to 15 years ago, let's go back to a week ago. Because it was NXT'S Great American Bash special, I'll call it. Because it's just a regularly aired NXT edition of the programme. Overall thoughts, Iain, just to do an overall encompassing thing, what did you think of it?
I thought it was a very good episode of NXT. Really, really good. There's some really good wrestling bits there. I think Cole and O'Reilly had a really, really good match, a really good technical match. They're 1-for-1 now, so there's obviously going to be the rubber match at some point, probably at the next takeover. Whatever stakes are put in place, maybe one of them has to leave NXT. Maybe it's the time for Adam Cole to finally jump over to the main roster. Who knows? Or something else. There has to be a blow-off to the feud. And yes, this is kind of like the nice sort of entertaining second act. So we've had a really good match there. In terms of probably one of the better stories on NXT at the moment, Cameron Grimes and LA Knight are still at it. Cameron Grimes is about to become a butler. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the vignettes. I think they're going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be great fun. And I will say, the cynical part of me just expects the NXT booking to be for Cole and O'Reilly 3. It'll just be like the winner goes to 205 Live, which you could argue, is that a win? There is a very cynical part of
purgatory.
Me. There you go.
Purgatory.
But when it comes to Cole and O'Reilly, I thought it was a very good match. Admittedly, because I have not watched a lot of NXT in recent times, I did not feel as emotionally connected to it, and I don't think there was a very good job done to highlight that either for potential newer viewers like myself.
That's fair.
I appreciate that an event like this, it's more designed for the people who have been following. It is very much to use what you were saying a few minutes ago about chapter points, it is a chapter point in NXT's overall calendar year, and I fully appreciate that, and I'm very much likely in the minority. But there was an element where I really appreciated what they were both doing. I just couldn't really get into it at points. Also, a thing that I've got a few things to say about the production of NXT overall, probably, but one thing that did irk me was how there was a moment where, because I was watching on the BT Sport app after the fact, and there was a moment during the match when they said, Oh, we're good. You can carry on watching the action in a picture-in-picture commercial break, and it just goes to an advert, and it's just like, oh, okay, hopefully nothing major is going to happen, and not to just already completely just devolve the discussion to bring in AEW, but as a comparison point, I feel like Fight TV and watching AEW on that is actually spoiling me now, because I'm so used to seeing action during the commercial breaks that when they suddenly said that and I didn't get it, I was actually quite annoyed. So
yeah, I mean, finally from the other side, from the other point of view, I've been watching a lot of NXT on the BT Sports app on a weekly basis. So the moment Vic Joseph's going, keep on the action with this picture-in-picture quality, I'm picking up the remote and saying, "You're just telling me sweet lies, Vic." But I actually watched AEW properly for the first time in Yonks with the Road Rager event. And the moment Jim Ross is going, "Oh yes, there it was, picture-in-picture," and it just carries on, I'm just going, This is nice. I
know,
this.
right? And it's because it's the international feed, and because I'm not sure, again, not to devolve this completely, but while it's just on topic now, because the way I believe it works out is that because, for example, they have an international television deal with ITV, and there's a certain amount of programming time they have to actually record. So rather than maybe doing what WWE might have done years ago and just put a From the Vault segment on SmackDown, and you see like a circa 2005 match involving Matt Hardy or something, they actually just keep recording so it could still be part of the program and whatnot, and it could fill that gap, and then they could just chop and change out whatever they need to in the international markets. So it really does make it feel like more of a fuller program, a complete program, if you will, in my opinion.
Indeed. But yeah, I mean, it's a little niggle with NXT not having the picture-in-picture break. But it's something that I've just kind of had to accept a little bit, really. I'm not sure. I mean,
it's very much just a WWE thing. You just got to take it at some point.
Yeah, I don't think the episodes are regularly uploaded to the WWE Network as they used to, because there was a good period where basically, yes, you'll be on USA one night, and then the next night it's already on the network.
Would you like my theory as to why?
Go on.
Television contracts and the American platform known as Hulu. Because they've got the television contract where they will get the immediate replays, and when you look at Raw and SmackDown on the network, they're normally on a 30-day delay, I think it is. I think now, technically, because NXT, that's not the right program, NXT is on USA, that's what I was trying to say, I think that technically falls under that remit. So because of that, it now doesn't get put onto the network until like a month after, which is still a weird caveat, especially for international viewers. You'd think now that it's like Peacock / the WWE Network, they might have figured that out, but clearly not. But elsewhere on Great American Bash though, the women's tag match and the opening tag title matches I thought were both great. Great to see Tegan Nox coming back after her injury. I will say I did really just like how MSK it wasn't that they were running roughshod over Thatcher and Ciampa, but I liked how their offense was such a styles clash against Ciampa and Thatcher, and it blended really well, and I thought that match was really, really good fun. And the women's tag title match, again, haven't really been following NXT, and so some of the story surrounding it was lost on me. That's if there is one criticism, and this is not just me trying to bash on NXT, but again, from the point of view of someone who has not watched this regularly and wanted to tune in because it's a special, I feel that sometimes you need to try and cater to both sides of the audience on that. Or at least try and give a bit more info. And yeah, there were some video packages and some explanations here and there. But sometimes the commentary team, as one of the backstage announcers called them, of Vic Wade Beth. That's literally how they referred to them. Because they tried to put across some things, but there's just a general... It's a horrible way to put it, but it's the only way I can describe it. Some of the communication of what had happened just felt like it was almost the equivalent of being monotone, just at the same level. They never felt like there was inflections at point, unless Adam Cole did a Panama Sunrise on Kyle O'Reilly on the outside. At that point when it looks like someone's just nearly perished, you would naturally think that. But I felt sometimes they just had to they were just talking, and they can't let there be a moment to just take it in. And I'm just like, guys, slow down, please, just let me take it in. But yeah, but that aside though, the actual in-ring action I really liked and enjoyed. And like I say, Tegan Nox being back was great fun. But do you want to know who the stars of the Great American Bash were?
Go on.
Hit Row.
Yes, because they had a little Cypher celebration, didn't they? And
Yep.
they had a really good musical moment in terms of way. Because sometimes when wrestlers try to sort of demonstrate the sort of musical skills, whether it be like Elias or something like that, doesn't necessarily come off well. It makes the wrestler look a bit silly or gawkish, I suppose. But no, Hit Row just smacked it out of the park. They really hit it out of the park, really.
Yeah, and this, again, my first experience of seeing the group together. And for me, it was a perfect introduction, especially on a show like this when you don't normally get... It's normally just, high-stakes matches, but because it was a special event television episode, it could lend itself to having a couple of those segments, like the Johnny Gargano and Karrion Kross segment earlier in the show, with the title match being established for this week's episode of NXT. But the Hit Row segment, it perfectly showed me what that group is about. It established each person in the group. And overall, it's just like, yeah, that's actually really cool. I don't fully appreciate everything that was going on, just from a general life point of view. I can't relate to some of it. But in terms of presentation and character and whatnot, genuinely really, really enjoyed it and thought they did a grand job of that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good faction. They're clearly investing in it. They're clearly booking them strong. Isaiah Swerve has the North American title right now. Would not be surprised if the tag team belts go to Hit Row very, very soon as well. They might be the ones to take it from MSK. I still feel there's unfinished business with Grizzled Young Veterans. We haven't seen them for a while, which is a bit of a shame. I hope they're coming back from tonight's episode. I think if I was to pick a favourite match, I'd say MSK versus Ciampa and Thatcher. It was a really good opening match. And it's like there are certain, it's like the hard-hitting style meeting the acrobatic style. It's sometimes it's like two different styles, but when it gels really well like it did in this match, it's good wrestling. It's good stuff and just really enjoyable and very hard hitting as well. Because I'm pretty certain one or two of MSK's attacks may have resulted in just like instant death. Like just, Matthew from BunkaMania, he did a really good Simpsons gag video of, Barney Rubble in the space episode. Where they're kind of doing, okay, how do you feel, Barney? And Barney just does his big kind of like backflips of just doing the rhyme, and it just cuts to a mid flip from one of MSK, and they're just nailed with a super kick by Ciampa, and they just crumple. So
yeah,
that's
there were some proper hard hits in that.
Yeah, proper. I think if there's any match you need to check out from Great American Bash, probably that one. I still think Colin O'Reilly was good. But obviously, I think the third match will probably elevate the previous two, because like the first one at Stand and Deliver a couple of months back was, yes, very hard hitting. There's some real big moments in it, like they were fighting through the stage and all that sort of stuff, and weapons was galore. But it was very long. I think it was about 40 minutes, maybe 45 if you include entrances and stuff like that. And it's kind of like sometimes short, sweet, to the point matches are good, rather than kind of drawn out. I know it's a drawn out storytelling match. Don't get me wrong, and it works, and it has worked with that match at times. But sometimes it's just a little bit too long. Just shave 5 minutes off, perfect. But yeah,
I think a key difference as well is because that match had no rules. Let's just call it like it is. It lent itself to being able to do more. And so, although it was very much a grudge match in that instance, not like the first of a best of 3 series, I think that lent itself to that scenario. Whereas this, it was a second match that's now a normal match. It's like, I mean, WWE in general has a very bad habit of doing stuff like that. Like, you start the feud with a cage match, then you go to a no DQ match, then you go to a no count out match, then you go to a no wrist lock match, then it's a regular match. It's like, but that's the way it's happened sometimes. Like the prime example that just springs to mind is the Bray Wyatt v John Cena feud when Bray Wyatt lost at WrestleMania. It's like their first match with each other, and Bray lost. It's like, well, where do you go from there? This feud must continue.
Still cage.
Exactly.
Extreme rules.
And this feud must continue. It's always just the way that they do it. So, again, nothing against those two, because the quality of the wrestling was great. It's just, I mean, I haven't seen the Stand and Deliver match, admittedly, but just knowing because they kept referencing it, that, you know, there were, like, no rules in this match, and this match has rules, they must stick to the rules. It's like, alright, I get it. You're telling me to go and watch the other match. I get it.
I mean, it's like for a third match, what do you kind of do? I mean, obviously, if it's a big blood feud, you bring in Hell in a Cell. But obviously, as we've discussed in the last episode, not always a great idea. I can't... Again, it's like, because they started that unsanctioned match first, you're right, it's really put the storytelling aspect of this feud into like a very weird sort of... Ciampa and Gargano had kind of like quite a very heated rivalry anyway. They had things like the unsanctioned match, they had like a one-on-one, and then when I think Ciampa came back from neck surgery and stuff like that, they had this like blow off, anything goes in this warehouse, nowhere to be found, basically a back building at probably the Performance Center, where Triple H just said, I'll get you a ring, I'll get you a ref, you do whatever you want to do, but someone has to win the match. And we're going to just say that's that. Hopefully we're not getting to that level of silliness of, okay, I'm going to find a ring. We're going to put it, I don't know, in the car park. Sort your shit out. And then we go on from there.
So, let me paint a picture of what will not happen for you. We will not have a match at Disney World where they can conveniently book out one of those, like, river areas where it can just be like a big, like, flotation-style wrestling ring, like in the FMW days in Japan.
Oh.
And then we're not just... It's like, you know, sharks just swimming around, and it's really just like the animatronic sharks you'd see on, like, a ride or something. Like, I want this to be, like, full WCW, like, Bash at the Beach Beast Blast levels of, like, Sting, Vader, Sid, and the British Bulldog from 1993. Go and look it up. It's fantastic. Just some of the vignettes they were doing on the beach. I want that kind of level of just... ridiculousness. So, NXT Great American Bash is in the books. The other thing to note, and this is ahead of the NXT episode that is airing tonight at the time of recording, is one of I'll say one of the main matches on the show, because there were a few other things announced. There's the breakout tournament that's going to be beginning, which I'm very curious to see. And I think... Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Forgive my pronunciation, is it Saraya that is also going to be wrestling on the show, I believe? I can't remember. I probably just butchered the name, but someone with that spelling of name, as it were, is going to be wrestling. But the main match is going to be Karrion Kross defending the NXT title against Mr. Jonathan Gargano. Now, the other key detail is that Samoa Joseph is going to be the special referee. Yeah. And obviously, he's made it known, if he's provoked, who knows what might happen. So... what is going to happen in this, Ian? It is prediction time ahead of the NXT show airing tonight. And like I say, guys, for everyone watching, listening to this, we are recording this at roughly 8 p.m. UK time on the 13th of July. So the show has not aired yet. It's hours away from airing, quite frankly. We have no inkling what is going to happen. So two versions of this question for you, Ian, and I'll do the same as well to answer. What do you want to happen, and what do you think will happen?
I think... Now, logically, considering all the news and discussions that Cross is going to the main roster, and considering they are about to go on the road, and obviously want a big sort of storytelling push maybe towards SummerSlam and stuff like that, I would not be surprised if Cross loses the belt tonight. Do I kind of want it to happen now? Probably not. I think post SummerSlam might be better. So, part of me thinks it's going to happen. He might the belt will change because of shenanigans or Samoa Joe just getting annoyed and laying out people and then probably dragging Johnny's body over across or something like that. I don't know.
Just to cut you off briefly, is there a takeover SummerSlam weekend?
Yes.
Okay. Right.
There should be. I believe there's one being planned. So I think if you were going to bring Cross up to the main roster, I think post SummerSlam might be the best time to do it, because then you've got some new sort of story arcs going into like the winter season or the autumn season of WWE, because we have the reports of like the big matches, obviously Cena, Reigns, and all that sort of stuff, but you can't really see much long term kind of storytelling past SummerSlam right now. We've got the very sort of like quick, short storytelling going on right now. So, I mean, yeah, I think bringing Cross up before SummerSlam might be a bit of an issue. Unless the only way I can see this working is if Cross is going to go straight into the title picture against Lashley, which I think that is a ridiculous claim for me to say, and I don't expect it to happen. But it's, if they're not able to get Brock back for SummerSlam or stuff like that, or again, because it's like I can't see Kofi dethroning Lashley at Money in the Bank this weekend. But after that, I'm kind of going, well, who legitimately challenges him? Unless someone from Raw wins Money in the Bank, and hopefully it's not Drew again. I love Drew, but please, Drew, have a break.
Have a Kit Kat.
Have a Kit Kat. You are not a salmon. Jason Statham reference. There we go. So, yeah, I personally would probably like Cross to keep the belt. I think he will keep the belt, but maybe they're going to set up the relevant story threads that will make it, which will eventually see him lose the belt. But I don't know. It's like it's very hard. I mean, it's like he is going to be on the main roster by the end of this year, no question. It's just a matter of when. And part of me thinks they might pull the trigger right now.
From my perspective, what I want to happen, I personally would like to see Johnny Gargano with the title. But there is an element of, who's going to challenge him. Because when you think about it from the perspective of, they've made it known that Cross has gone through everybody at this point. There is one notable exception. We'll come to that. But Cross has gone through everybody right now. So realistically, Johnny winning it now, especially after that 5-way, does seem a bit weird and random to me. But I think it's the time, probably, again, based on the little NXT I've seen and based on what they're telling me and what you've said and what I've read elsewhere, Cross has just been champion for ages and has beaten everybody at this point. So there just gets to that point where you've either got to change things up or you need to have someone else come in.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The logical assumption would be he is going to face Samoa Joe. It's the thing that, from a story thread perspective, it makes total sense that Joe was the guy that stood in his face in that first segment he was involved. And since then, the constant phrasing of, unless I'm provoked, has come into play.
Yeah.
And the fact that Joe said that as well, unless I'm provoked, nothing to worry about. I'll call it down the middle. Now, is that to say that Joe is going to cost Cross the belt tonight? That I don't know. In a weird way, I don't think that will happen. But I think that will be a reason, from Cross's point of view, to set up the match with Joe. Perhaps at the TakeOver SummerSlam time. I'll call it that, because we don't know if there's one that weekend.
Yeah.
Because that, to me, seems a logical story thread, that they would at least have a match together. Assuming Joe can definitely wrestle, but from what he's gone on record as saying, it's not that he won't. It's more just a question of when. So that makes sense from that perspective. And that's sort of what I should clarify. That's what I think is going to happen. Gargano will come out with the belt after the match, and ultimately Cross will blame Joe, and that will set up their match. Like, it might even be a case of, for example, this is a dumb way to put it, but say Cross accidentally hits Joe, and it's that moment of, oh, no, you didn't. And then Joe can attack him and whatnot. But then maybe Joe gets foiled in his attempt, or he isn't able to get him. Something else occurs which leads to Johnny being able to get the belt, and maybe there's a claim that Joe does a fast count, but I don't think that should be that. I think it should just be that Cross has a legitimate reason to say, you tried to attack me during the match. Almost making Cross come across as a little bit of a chicken shit in a way, if that makes sense. So it kind of makes him in that sense. That's how I think that might play out. But in terms of what I want to happen, Gargano leaves with the belt. And being honest, just because I'm eternally British and whatnot, I just want to see Gargano and Pete Dunne.
As you were talking about that, I was thinking, well, Johnny's had the belt already, and it'll be nice for Johnny to have the belt again. That'd be great. He could just be a transitional champion, and he could just be holding the belt for a couple of weeks, and then someone like Dunne takes it, and Dunne finally takes his place at the top of NXT and has great matches with O'Reilly, Cole, and maybe some of the new talent that's coming through. Maybe that is the case. So that is a very, very plausible thing. It's like, hopefully it won't be done to the degree of, say, obviously, the Miz.
It won't be done?
Oh, I'm bad at these puns. I walked into that one. But yeah, I can imagine that happening. I really could. It's just, yeah, because then you can still have Cross fighting even without the belt. So in a way, kind of keeps Cross strangely, oddly still strong. If there's interference of some degree, they make him lose the belt rather than just a flat out clean loss. Because then maybe on his way out, maybe he does beat Joe, because Joe's not going to mind too much probably about a loss, because if he's able to wrestle, eventually he'll probably be back into like the championship picture sooner or later. Maybe he picks up a fight with Johnny after a random title defense at the next takeover. Who knows? But I think those are very plausible ideas. We'll have to see what happens.
Indeed. Now, there are two more things I want to mention very quickly about this Great American Bash thing. First of all, I like the fact that the WrestleMania 29 New York set managed to get some of it brought back specifically for this NXT show. The Statue of Liberty's head and the torch. I did laugh at that quite a lot, that they were just there in this tiny room. It was very amusing.
Oh, they just reel out anything from the warehouse for these shows. I mean, it's like when they did Takeover 30, they used the 3 X's from WrestleMania 30. It's like, we've already got this sign. We've got this sign already set up. Shall we use it? Yeah, why not? Let's go for that.
Okay. Now, the other thing I want to mention, I want to have a quick rant about.
Okay.
I get that sponsorships are an important thing with any company in life. Sponsorships are what keep businesses going. However, if anyone dares mention to me Bud Light Lemonade Seltzer or whatever the hell it was called one more time, I am gonna break something. It was bad enough how often they mentioned it during the show as a whole, especially when they tried to cut to an ad break on the BT Sports feed that still had picture-in-picture, and the BT Sport effectively just went, screw that, and just went to an ad break. Because it was advertising freaking alcohol. But also, the Cameron Grimes LA Knight match was literally sponsored by this match. And I was genuinely considering, but I quite frankly didn't have time, was going to genuinely considering re-watch this match and count how many times this product was mentioned in some way, shape or form. Even after the match was done, Wade Barrett had to somehow get in a line to the effect of, he's going to be enjoying that Bud Light Lemonade Seltzer tonight. And it's just, no, stop this. Stop this. I'm all for sponsorships, but this, to steal an old line from TNA Wrestling, crossed the line.
Well, what was it? I think there was a point as well where it appeared on screen, so they had to kind of... BT Sport just slapped on the BT Sports logo at the bottom half of the screen for like a minute or two. It's like, no Bud Light Seltzer for them. They can hear about it, but they can't see it. No Bud Light Seltzer for the UK audience. I get your point. I think the last time I was properly annoyed by sponsorship was at probably Mania this year, when every so often Michael Cole would say it's sponsored by Snickers. It's like I don't want a Snickers. Stop telling me to have a Snickers, Michael Cole. But this match is brought to you by Snickers.
Have it
Satisfy your hunger. Satisfy your hunger.
Burger King? I don't know anymore. They're all
That's
the same.
Burger King. Burger King or Hungry Jack's if you're listening from Australia.
Skittles, taste the rainbow. Not a sponsor.
No, I tell a lie. Probably the worst offender this year is probably Army of the Dead from WrestleMania Backlash. Simply because like the opening video thing narrated by Batista, it's like facing the Backlash is like facing zombies in Las Vegas. Insert film footage.
But the counterpoint to that though, is at least the zombies were involved in a match. Bud Light Seltzer was not actually involved in a match. Hell, if LA Knight had clobbered Cameron Grimes with a can of Bud Light, whatever it is, seltzer, I actually would have been like, you know what? The sponsorship had a purpose. But no, this was just to inform me from a UK perspective of a drink that's not available here that I'm not going to drink anyway because I don't drink alcohol. Stop it. Stop it.
And with that in mind, I would like to remind listeners and viewers that this episode of BunkaMania has been brought to you by water. It's refreshing and quenches your thirst. Water. Get some.
I mean, hey, look, if we're trying to get cheap sponsorship, I'll do one. Pepsi Max. Maximum taste, no sugar.
Call us, please. Yeah. We can do sponsorships.
Honestly, that was for any audio listeners, that was appalling, and I apologise, but there you go. So, there's no easy segue. I was going to try and do something there, but it wasn't actually going to work. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say this, Ian. When it comes sometimes to being in the pub, and you've had some drinks with friends, you maybe had a cheap meal, maybe one of varying quality, but sometimes you decide you'll go down the road and maybe have a rager at another pub. That's how we get to AEW Dynamite's Road Rager edition of the show from Miami, Florida. The first AEW show in over, what is it at this point, 16 months to not, well, basically post the pandemic era, we'll call it, of AEW as things stand. Because, let's call it like it is, guys. Who knows what the heck's going to happen. But this was the first touring show in front of a live audience. It was broadcast live, literally live. It wasn't like a pre-tape or anything. There was an interesting pre-taped element to it later on involving Team Taz, which kind of caught me off guard. We might get to that, but it's not essential.
Yeah.
But overall thoughts on this. I'll go first on this one if you don't mind, Ian. I thought overall this was a really strong episode of AEW Dynamite. I have a couple of qualms about it. More just, I think, what I don't want AEW to become, and I get a feeling this is what might be happening, and at least for this initial period while they're back on the road just to try and sell tickets, is I don't want there just to be massive matches on every show for the sake of it. And it kind of felt like the Young Bucks v Kingston and Penta match being made into a street fight felt like it was done for the sake of it. I know because the week before, I know that Penta and Kingston defeated the Young Bucks in a normal match. But there was, and there's a storyline element as well where, you know, the Bucks couldn't beat them without cheating and whatnot. But it didn't feel like it needed to be a street fight. I still kind of enjoyed the match. There was some ridiculous stuff there, like the Canadian Destroyer off the apron through a table. Hello? Of which apparently Matt Jackson, I think, legit got a stinger from that match as well, when he got thrown face first into the guardrail. You know, protect your face, let alone your neck, kids. But yeah, so I thought there are some elements of that where I'm just worried that I don't want it just to be matches like that for the sake of it. And that's only because I followed AEW so closely, and everything to a degree has felt like it's had I say a natural reason, but a justified reason. It's even like, for example, I think it's on this week's Dynamite, there's going to be the... Oh, names are just... thank you. I say thank you. That was to my own brain. Thank you. My own brain. Darby Allin and Ethan Page in their coffin match. There was from a storyline perspective, that was originally meant to be on Road Rager, but it ended up getting moved, and they did an angle where it's like, no, you're going to attack me before this match and injure me? No, not going to happen. This match is being delayed. That makes sense. Let's call it like it is. Given the recent building tragedy in Miami, there was probably a reason, and a good reason, that they shouldn't have had the coffin match in Miami. Literally, 100% fine with that.
Yeah,
but things at least have, you know, a degree of logic to them in what happens. But to me, it just didn't really felt like this match needed to be a street fight. And I was actually more up for just seeing these guys have another great match. So when I heard it was a street fight, I was kind of like, okay. You know what I mean? It kind of took me out a little bit. Yeah.
Feels like we're on Street Fighter Mania, I suppose. It's like, you want a street fight? No, you have a street fight. Everyone has street fights. Street fights are for everyone. Yeah, I mean, main event, really, really good, really solid. Crazy moves. As you said, Canadian Destroyer through the table was amazing. Usual predictable outcomes still kind of happened. It was everyone from the Elite just turns up, beats up, and hey, we still have the belts for the Young Bucks.
Exactly.
It's like, as much as I appreciate they're trying to be a big mega heel faction, kind of starts to feel a little same old. It's like there must be at least some good baby faces to fight at least against, or actually be able to level it a little bit. So a bit of level booking until big matches comes along. Yeah. I liked the promo between Page and Allen backstage. I think it added a little bit more to it. I think it allowed me to know the history between the wrestlers a lot more as well. So again, in terms of AEW storytelling, which is really, really good, really strong. again, starting to tease Page versus Omega.
I can't
Hangman
wait.
Page, that is.
I can't wait. That is the one thing I will say about AEW. Even though WWE's naming convention of wrestlers only having one name, like how Tegan Nox on SmackDown is now seemingly just known as Nox. Seemingly. It's like, in some cases, it kind of makes a bit of sense, but when even I am willing to admit, when you've got Ethan Page, Adam Page, Brian Cage, at some point we need to have a faction just called The Age.
Oh, it's a great law firm. Cage, Page, and Page. Destruction.
Page, and Cage. but
always call for Cage, Page, and Page. Friendly restaurateurs. I don't know. Sorry, apologies. I was
just go for it. Just roll with it. But yeah. So, like you said, the storytelling is really, really good on the whole. But I really enjoyed this show. But I felt the placement of some things on this show wasn't the best. For example, the Cody Rhodes v QT Marshall strap match storyline makes total sense. They're having the match. I don't think it. I personally, when they were going to come out and have that match first, my initial reaction was, I don't want to see a strap match now. Like I'm not in the zone. Like I need something. If anything, I would have probably just enjoyed the. I probably would have just preferred the straight up Young Bucks v Penta and Kingston match to open it. Would have been a bit insane, but there's a degree to which it's like, we're back on the road, now we're just going to basically punch you in the face. But the strap match, it just felt very stop-start. There was the whole touching the corner thing, which I get is the rule, but there was just an element to it where, at times, it felt like you kept hitting a speed bump. And it's nothing against Cody and QT at all, it's just that's how I felt it watching as a regular viewer of AEW.
Yeah, I personally was not really that invested in this match, to be perfectly honest. I'm not surprised Cody won. Obviously trying to make a statement by doing it with 3 Crossroads. But it's like some people, I mean, I know there's obviously been some sort of feedback, obviously, with Cody kind of putting himself in these feuds and always seemingly eventually coming out on top. It's like Anthony Ogogo, for example, a couple of weeks back, especially at the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, you're expecting this is like a star-making moment for Anthony, and it just ends up being, Cody won.
Yeah, that was another instance where it felt like that was going to lead to more. But you know what? Also, we don't necessarily know the entire reasons, because I think it came out in the press that Ogogo actually got an injury.
Okay.
I want to say he got a rib injury, or no, because he had the eye injury. I want to say he got a rib injury before that match, and they did play it into the match a little bit. So I think legitimately he might just be out injured for a bit, but kind of fulfilled the Double or Nothing commitment in the interim. Yeah. The other, I thought, one match that I really enjoyed, and if anything, this match actually, I changed my opinion from a second ago. This match should have been first on the card. That being the 6-man tag with the Pinnacle against Inner Circle. Because that match had a load of heat for it. I think that would have been a great way to kick this off. The intense nature of AEW. It's the first event back in front of fans. And you just see people just pummeling the hell out of each other. I think that would have been a really, really good match to kick it off.
Yeah, I think as well from a placement, considering you've got MGF having to sit down with Jericho halfway through the show as well, I think placement-wise, that would have been stronger. Because then you have the latest battle between the two factions, and then you have the next part of the leaders having their war with one another, so MGF and Jericho, and Jericho agreeing to MGF's conditions, which we have yet to properly find out who the opponents are going to be. There's been some very kind of, I think with Wrestle Talk, for example, had a really good theory that MJF isn't going to make Jericho face the Pinnacle. He might actually make
the Inner Circle,
Inner Circle. Yeah.
Totally, yeah, literally, as soon as he said that, MJF, because the way he phrased it, he implied to me, I'm going to make you wrestle each of your Inner Circle guys. And then at that point, it's going to be the storyline of, well, are they going to actually have a match, or are they going to effectively do like a finger poke of doom?
Because I can imagine MJF coming out and saying, no, you have a proper match, or this deal is off. It's not like you're not going to have just a finger poke of doom. You're not just going to just do a crafty one. It's no. You seriously want to fight me? You seriously fight your friends, or you never know. It could be 4 special guest wrestlers or brand new signees coming in. Who knows? I think those options would be better than just going through the Pinnacle again. Maybe it might be. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I think, sorry, ignore that bit. I think either one of those two options, Inner Circle members or just new signees or guest wrestlers, stuff like that, I think would actually be quite good.
Totally. And I will say as well, just that segment involving MJF and Jericho, aside from one thing, which we'll come back to in a sec, well, you know what we're talking about. But, But aside from that one thing, this segment was great. Just the passion involved in both of them. It also... What's the way to phrase this? This is an example of where you do not need to play everything to the camera. Because at times, when you, what's the way to put this from a directorial point of view? Everything now, a lot of stuff to a degree, in wrestling, let alone television shows and whatnot, feels very directed to a camera. You are looking, in some way, shape or form, like your body positioning is very much open towards the camera, so that you've not just got your back to the camera, effectively. But in this, there were moments where that actually happened, and it kind of broke that regular feeling. And because that felt, whether it was intentional or not, I'm not sure, but because that almost felt quite alien in how it ended up being presented, it actually lent itself really well to the segment, and that this is actually a big deal. There's a lot going on. And I thought that worked out really, really well. And like you say, the conditions that MJF is going to set out, we'll find out what they are. I fully expect one of them to effectively be like an Inner Circle gauntlet. It may even be a case of Jericho can only win against an opponent in a certain way. I reckon he might even go down that route. Which also might be a way to re-establish Jericho's moves as well, because he's not wrestled properly since the Blood and Guts match, probably.
Or Stadium Stampede, do you want to count that? Or are we just going to say Blood and Guts on that, I think?
I would say proper match in terms of action happening in the ring rather than that. But
okay.
For record, I love Stadium Stampede. It was great, but just for the purposes of discussion, we'll say Blood and Guts. So that was the last match it was, and it was a while ago. And if you think about it, he could say, you can only win with submission, so we re-established the Lion Tamer. Like, you can only win by pinfall. It could be the Judas effect. It could be the code breaker that he uses. It might even be, you can only win after doing a flying maneuver. And it reestablishes that Jericho can still do a lion salt. Like, it could be anything. MJF could just be the biggest dastardly guy when it comes to this. And all of these ridiculous demands. But I actually want to see Jericho have a competitive match against each member of the Inner Circle. Because I think that would actually help also to establish each member of the Inner Circle and their current standing in AEW as a whole. But also, it would establish that, hey, look, at the end of the day, there is one goal we've got to get to here. And also, those guys at some point probably want to wrestle Jericho.
Yeah.
I think there should be that competitive rivalry where, Santana and Ortiz and, Guevara's point of view should very much be, hey, look, we want a chance again. Like, we love you like a brother. We're in with you. But I'd be lying if I said I don't want to try and get a win over you. And Hagar's already technically beaten him once anyway, when you think back years ago to, being champion and whatnot. So that's why I didn't mention him specifically. True. But, heck, there may be a Hagar v Jericho MMA rules match.
Who knows? In terms of the promo between MJF and Jericho, there are some absolute zingers in there. My favourite is... MJF sort of saying, oh yeah, it's funny you call yourself the self-proclaimed demo god when you're not even in that demographic. That's why it works so well.
Speaking of demographics, there is something that needs to be talked about here. And it was only caught on camera briefly, but boy did this go wild on the internet after the fact. At the start of this segment, there was suddenly a camera cut to a wide angle. And there was just someone random on the stage who seemingly just vanished into thin air, a moment later. And they cut to a wide shot. And my first thought was, who the hell jumped in the ring? Did someone seriously jump the rail on the first touring show back? One, why? Two, why during a pandemic would you do that? And three, what an arse, quite frankly. That's me being polite about it. And then...
I mean, he got...
Go on.
Well, he got a punch from Jericho for his troubles.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he took a good one. And there's
oh no, they showed it on. I saw it on the feed when I was watching it on Fight. It was basically, oh yeah, he clocked him one.
Oh, definitely, because there was one moment where Jericho went for him, and that's when I figured out, oh, hang on, what's just happened there? And you realised it. And even Jericho and MJF referencing it in the promo, because it's one of those things where, and I actually applaud them for doing this as well. It's that thing of the live crowd is almost partly taken out of the segment now. And so you've got to just try and get them back in. For the audience at home, you kind of, like, from my point of view, it's like, something's gone on here. I can tell. Like, it's like when you watch, like, old WCW or just old Attitude Era footage in general. There is a moment in a match where everyone goes, oh, someone's probably going to come down the aisle in the next minute. I'm going to stand up and be ready for it and look down that entrance ramp. You literally see it happen. Or when a fight breaks out in the crowd, you know when it's happening because everyone turns to it and looks. It's just the way it happens. So there was an element of, you could tell that with the AEW audience that night, that something had happened. But the fact that Jericho and MJF actually referenced it in their promo, it was enough suspension of disbelief to make you think, could that have been part of it? Even just for a moment. It was enough to kind of bring you back in. So I applaud them for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think being able to bring it back after being distracted. And probably, I think Jericho visibly did look a little bit, hey, what's just gone on? I'm a bit, it's like, whoa, what's just happened here? I need to try and bring it back. I think
Jericho also kept looking towards the guy as well. You could tell he was like, what's going on over there? So
yeah. Obviously, we will not give that man any further reference to, because obviously he's a very stupid thing to do if you're a wrestling fan trying to.
Yeah, totally. I would never endorse that whatsoever. The one thing I will add to it, though,
don't do it,
is if there is one thing that came out of this, and I will say from the outset, like, Jim Cornette is an acquired taste. There are some things back in, like, years ago where I'd listen to his podcast and stuff more just because, you know what, I'm actually curious to know what he thinks. I really don't give a damn if he's got a gripe with any, like, AEW thing or whatever, and how there's arguably a heck of a lot of AEW bashing he does on a regular basis, rightfully or wrongly. But the fact that the guy seemingly tweeted Cornette saying it was him, I did it for all of us and part of your cult, and Cornette basically went, sod off, just in a very Cornette way, like, and basically disowned him. Like, and then there was a moment where I think Kenny Omega tweeted about it, and then there was a comment where Cornette went, this is the only thing we're going to agree on, like, this one specific point, and then I think he had to say something else to, like, bash it. But it's like, when you get Jim Cornette to side on the reason of AEW because you are a bloody idiot and jumped the rail, it's just don't do it. Like, there is, for anyone watching or listening that isn't aware, it's kind of just like an unspoken rule, like in any entertainment event, be it you're in, the West End Theatre, be it you're at a concert, heck, be it you're at a sporting event. Unless you're at the Euro 2020 final and someone runs on the pitch and whatnot, there is the odd person who, quite frankly, is just going to be a total dunderhead. And everyone knows that there is going to be someone, be it heckling, whatever. But when it comes to actually physically getting involved, like, just don't freaking do it. And I'm trying not to go too far down the rabbit hole of mentioning Euro 2020 and everything else that happened after the fact, which freaking disgrace, quite frankly. But away from that, I just want to try and bring it close to this point that I seemingly can't get out of now. I just really hope this isn't going to be a regular thing. I really hope. Like, if it's going to have to get to the point now where, SmackDown this week is the first WWE touring show in front of fans, and Money in the Bank this weekend is going to be the second show. Is someone going to try and jump the rail now? It's got to be a serious consideration. And, like, even AEW, like, tomorrow night, like, are they going to have to now basically announce beforehand, even though it kind of at this point just shouldn't have to be, do not, how do you even phrase it, like, delicately? So you basically said, do not cross the barrier, do not get physically involved in the show, you will be ejected. Or do not do not be a physical distraction. Like, how do you phrase it? I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll let you speak, 'cause I'm rambling.
But yeah, I mean, I think in previous things with WWE, I mean, there hasn't necessarily been a massive issue on some of their on their sort of last major run of shows. I think the only one I remember, I think it was many years ago. I think it might have been when Seth was still with the Authority or something like that, and he came out for a match and he was just walking down, and then some random person just jumped over, just walked along with him, and Seth's just gone, "What?" It's like, "Hello, okay." All right, and then promptly, and then security just took him down. But anyway, focusing back on the Road Rager.
Yeah, because there is one other very big thing that occurred, which, suffice to say, shocked people quite a bit. There was a segment where... Well, okay, actually, to be fair, there's two more things we should touch on. I'll touch on one, then we'll get to the debut.
Okay.
Andrade v Matt Sydal. I think it was on the last episode, how Andrade's presentation, there is something about it that isn't clicking with me. And I really want it to. First of all, him coming out dressed like Black Mask from Batman, I freaking love.
Was awesome.
I also love the fact that on Twitter, Evil Uno just posted a picture and said, "This is not Evil Uno." This is great. And then some of the other Dark Order guys got involved in it as well, which is really good fun. But this match with Matt Sydal, I don't know what happened. I can't wrestle for anything. I'm not taking anything away from the ability of both men. But man, did this feel like a clunker if there ever was one. There was just something about it that just could not get out of first gear most of the time.
Yeah, it just felt something was off. Something was a little bit off. I mean, I think for the entrance, I think, again, just like you, I think Andrade coming out dressed as Black Mask was pretty cool. I was thinking, yeah, if he's going down this level of something like, this is how serious I'm going to be in AEW. I like that a lot. But yeah, it was just, I think there were times when he was trying to be kind of heelish, but the crowd weren't necessarily going to let him be a heel. It was kind of like, no, but we want to cheer you, we love you. It was like, but I'm trying to be a...
Yeah, eventually you could tell eventually he embraced it a little bit. He had to, quite frankly.
He did like Free Amigos he did the Free Amigos tribute. He teased trying to do like a Frog Star press, but he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was even more amusing when like Santana like earlier in the night had done like 2 Amigos and then clearly thought, "Oh crud, I better not do a third one," and then didn't. But it was quite amusing because even like it was referenced on commentary.
I mean, it's just, to a point, even when he started in NXT, Andrade didn't necessarily have like a running start, or he jumped off, he managed to just catapult himself upwards. It took a little bit of time, and it took obviously bringing in a manager like Vega, like we talked about last episode. So yeah, it's not the best match or the best debut in the world, I suppose. Bits of it worked, bits of it didn't, and basically Andrade's kind of landed now in AEW. It's time for him to kind of build himself up a bit more, and hopefully the booking will hopefully help him do that. So we'll have to see on that.
Honestly though, like, and this isn't me just trying to like stereotype he should have gone in there with like a lucha guy, but I think if he'd have had a match against someone like a Penta, or maybe someone who was, because the thing, Matt Sydal is really freaking good. Like, he is such a good wrestler. But there was just something that, for whatever reason, the two of them just did not click this night. And really, Andrade needed to look like... He just needed to look incredible in this match, in my opinion. He needed to come off, like, oozing charisma like a Razor Ramon would. And just thinking, damn, man, that guy, he is going to be a star. And he honestly didn't feel that way to me after that match. I think he would have been better if he'd have just crushed someone, quite frankly. Just like, effectively, it be a squash match. But maybe against someone of a similar size to him or something. And then maybe have a competitive match against a Matt Sydal. Again, it's one of those hit or miss things. Like, on this occasion, for me, it was a miss. And it sucks it was, but I hope they could start to rectify that. Because I really don't want Andrade just to suddenly be... Like, he's made his debut, and it hasn't done anything. I don't want that to happen.
Well, again, we have seen it with a couple of ex-WWE performers coming in. I mean, Rusev took a few... Well, Rusev, Miro, sorry. Correct ring name for AEW. It took Miro a couple of months to really get going on the run that he's on. I mean,
to be fair, I don't know if you've seen Rusev's actual debut match in AEW. That was bad. It was a tag team match. Kind of everything that could have gone wrong basically did, and they managed to do enough to wipe that from your immediate memory. But man, if you go back and watch it, it's not a good one. But now he's this monster, and it works so well. So yeah, they can definitely repackage and build things over time. But with Andrade, it feels like it shouldn't have to happen. I think that's the key difference. It feels like he literally looks like a star from the get-go, and it shouldn't feel it shouldn't feel this difficult. Is probably the way to put it.
Well, it's like how he started in AEW, just turned up on a show. It's like, and usually when someone makes an unexpected arrival, people go, and we'll talk about the other debut. I
was going to say, I was actually the perfect segue. You want to go straight to it?
Because it's like he just comes on and goes, "Hello, I am here," and people just go, "Oh, all right, okay, cool." But whereas Malachi Black turns up, everyone goes, "Holy fucking shit!" That way. So just to add, that was my legitimate response on a Thursday morning watching this before working from home. It's like, oh, okay, this is weird. Oh my god, he's there, and yeah. So
lead us in. Arn Anderson, if I remember correctly, it was Arn Anderson, Tony Schiavone in the ring, and Arn Anderson was going to cut a promo, and there's something I haven't mentioned about the Cody match earlier, but in hindsight, it was very well played. The lights went out, and they came back up, and there was who Excalibur referred to as a man that I wrestled 15 years ago by the name of Tommy End. But this isn't him. Like, this is Malachi Black, and it's like, oh, you happen to know that name, how convenient. But that point aside, but it's Malachi Black, and then he flipping roundhouse kicks on Anderson, and then does it to Cody. Yep. But the actual brilliant part of this debut, and to me, this is actually what it was the most innocuous thing that plays into it so much, is during the Cody match earlier in the night, there was a random moment where the lights went out and they came back up. And the announcers, in hindsight, played it just enough to where they were like, "Oh, that was unexpected. Sorry." You know, it felt almost natural. It's like, "Oh, someone clearly hit the wrong button there. Sorry," kind of thing.
Oh, bad. Never mind.
Exactly. And then the fact it was exactly the same. It was literally that moment of, "Oh," and everyone knew it. Like, as soon as you thought about it, and the lights went out earlier in the evening, you knew. It was so well played, and I am very excited to see. For the record, I'm just going to say this now. I am probably going to flip-flop between calling him Tommy and like Malachi or just Black because having done commentary in the past for WXW in Germany, I've commentated a fair amount of Tommy End matches, so it's very difficult for me to separate that, to be quite frank. But Malachi's debut, I thought was great, and this is going to be the litmus test now. What's going to happen this week on AEW? Because it was seemingly a clerical error that Malachi's contract only had him have a 30-day release as opposed to a 90.
Yeah.
And the fact that got kept ultra quiet and didn't get leaked that's the other thing that I love about AEW as well, is when it comes to surprises, some things here and there can get spoiled. They just do. It's freaking wrestling at this point.
Yeah.
But when something legitimately is surprising, it's such good fun. And that's why I love not looking online and trying to avoid like news and spoilers where I can sometimes. It's like, I don't want to know. Like, there's a part of me, it's just like, I want to just enjoy it and see what happens. It's like, for example, earlier, this is a bit of a tangent, but I'll go with it. It's like, at the time we're recording yesterday, photos randomly emerged online of Brock Lesnar and a butcher, and he's got a ponytail. And it's like, first of all, it's like, oh, Brock Lesnar. And you're like, ponytail? And then my thought is, I'm already intimidated by Brock Lesnar. I don't want to see him in a butcher. It's bad enough, and he's just like wearing a giant slab of meat like a championship belt. Are you kidding me?
Well, he loves going hunting. He loves going hunting on his private land.
But that's an example where no one saw that coming. And when that suddenly appeared online, the internet was like, what the heck? Because it was something they didn't know. And that's why surprises work so well. And I'm really, really glad that this debut was not spoiled in advance.
I generally find the whole contract thing amazingly funny, and also a bit of karma for WWE in a sense, because it's like It's like I think Murphy was talking in an interview, or he shared information on his own social channels that he was immediately he got a call from WWE straight away after that debut, just to check. You definitely have 60 days, haven't you? You definitely have it's 90 days, not 60. You definitely have 90 days, don't you? Please tell me you have 90 days on your contract.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if I haven't read anything online, but I kind of just want to imagine that scenario where someone in WWE has clearly just got to be watching AEW and just kind of keeping an eye on it. And they're probably just, I'm going to do this for the benefit of the video viewers as well from a visual point of view. They're probably just like sitting back, swigging some Pepsi or, a vodka martini. I don't know. That's the first alcoholic drink. Shows you I don't drink, doesn't it? Anyway, they're swigging a drink, whatever. And then the lights go out, they take a swig, and they see it's Aleister Black, Malachi Black, Tommy End, and there's probably just a spit take moment, and they're like, wait, what? Time to get on the phone for cease and desist, let's look at that contract. And they look at it and go, oh no.
Oh
no. Hi, talent relations? We need a chat. Now. I know it's late. Now. I'm really, really, really looking forward to seeing what Malachi is going to be able to do, because from a creativity point of view, he has got some fascinating ideas.
Yeah,
like some of the stuff even he was sharing like on Twitch of like a concept for a character he had and stuff like that. There is so much in his brain, which he has basically now got pretty much creative freedom to express it in AEW. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what that's going to bring forward.
Absolutely. So, final thoughts on the Road Rager. I think it was, I'm with you. I think it was a really strong episode back on the road. Makes some of the story developments makes me more excited for the next episode of AEW. I would like to watch it straight away, and I would like to see what happens. Excited by Black being there now. Looking forward to I'm looking forward to Page versus Allen. But I'm just kind of going, well, Street Fight, let's not oversaturate. No, the match I am looking for. Is it Fyter Fest this week?
So I believe what it is it's Fyter Fest 1 and 2, because they're splitting it over 2 weeks effectively, because I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's basically it's a play on the Fyre Fest, the whole concept.
Yes, the first part of Fyter Fest is the next episode. Yeah. And one of the matches I'm definitely looking forward to is Moxley versus Anderson. For the
right, so they just randomly announced an IWGP US title match. Like, oh, Moxley's back defending the IWGP belt against Carl Anderson. There's like a moment of wait, what? Just random.
And then Anderson just turns up going, I'm going to do my favourite thing, beat up Jon Moxley. It's like, well, someone's lifted that promo from their WWE days.
Yeah, do you know what? Honestly, and I'm not sure if you're not to diverge too much here, but Carl Anderson, legitimately in New Japan, was one of the biggest gaijin foreigner wrestlers there. Like, he was in the G1 final, and the G1 Climax every year is New Japan's big tournament. It's like a big round-robin tournament that they have, like, perhaps between 5 and 10 wrestlers in each block, goes around Japan, and, like, the final 2 meet in the final. And one year, Anderson got to the final, and I think he had to face Tanahashi in the final. It may have been Goto, actually. I can't remember which one off the top of my head. Hiroki Goto, and there was a moment legitimately where it was like he could do this because the Japanese fans were that behind him. Also to a point where I think it was in Hiroshi Tanahashi's book it came out that he literally said one of the best wrestlers on the planet is Carl Anderson. And so even if you're not familiar with his Japanese wrestling days, as it were, and how capable of a wrestler he is, because all you mainly perhaps see him do is shout, beat up John Cena, or just see him be mostly drunk, or doing just random Bullet Club stuff. He is genuinely a really good wrestler, and he can frickin' throw a punch if he needs to. So that's gonna be a really really fun match.
Yeah,
and there's so much going for AEW the next few weeks. But like I said, I really enjoyed this show. I think some of the ordering and placement could have been better thought out, and I'm really really looking forward to seeing what's next. But again, not without my criticisms of the show, because we just talked about it, but overall, very good show. So, folks, we're now going to touch on a bit of WWE for a moment, that being specifically Money in the Bank, which is taking place this weekend at the time of recording. Again, we're recording this on the 13th of July, so we're going by the matches that are on WWE.com as things stand. But I think the first thing we actually need to make mention of is actually some pretty sad news, and it's relating to, first of all, the women's title match, but more specifically, Bayley. And the fact that it was announced very late last week, I think it may have been Thursday night or Friday morning UK time, that Bayley had suffered an injury in training because there was some sort of mandatory training sessions going on for all the superstars just to kind of get ready to be back on the road. And I'm not sure if it's been confirmed, but it sounds like Bayley may have tore her ACL or did a very bad knee injury and is basically out for 9 months. I think that's gutting because she has been, we talked about it last week, she's been the gleaming light in this pandemic era. She's thrived off it. And there's one person on the entire roster who I could not wait to see be back in front of an audience, just with oozing that charisma, which seems to be my phrase tonight, but we'll go with it. But just having all that momentum behind her, it was Bayley. And now she can't have it for a while. There's part of me that really wants her just to be on commentary berating Michael Cole the whole time. Just to keep her on.
I think that would be a great idea. I think if they let the injury probably heal up a little bit first and then maybe get into that position maybe a month or two down the line possibly. But yeah, it's a shame. It really is. And it's sad because it's like I imagine in front of crowds again with the heel character properly now kind of fully formed, I think she would have had a ball, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, it's really sad. Hopefully she's on the mend as soon as possible and we see her back in the ring or even on the commentary desk for a bit as well while she heals up. It would just be a shame for the next couple of months to go by we just don't see Bayley.
Exactly.
So that does mean we don't have a SmackDown Women's Championship match on Money in the Bank. That's going to SmackDown, which is happening this Friday. It's Belair versus Carmella, which is fair enough.
Well, I mean, the other thing it does though is it kind of also just wrecks the story they were building about trying to get into Money in the Bank, because Carmella was effectively, what was it? I'm trying to remember what it was. Liv Morgan and Carmella had a match. Liv Morgan won. The next week, Carmella was given a spot in Money in the Bank. Liv Morgan came out and said, "What the heck? I beat her. Why am I not in a match?" Then got put in a match. Did or didn't win that. And then Bayley gets injured, and then Carmella gets the title shot, and Liv Morgan's put in Money in the Bank.
Yeah,
it's like for ways to get out of a booking hole, there could have been very easy ways to do this.
It could be. I mean, it looked a bit silly when Carmella was announced as the replacement, and then Morgan comes out complaining because. I think, quite rightly, we're all logically thinking if Carmella can't have a title shot and also be in Money in the Bank, that's just stupid. That's just stupid from just a creative point as well. Is
it? Hear me out.
All right.
Hypothetically, what if Carmella won the title from Belair, which won't happen? Hopefully.
Won't happen.
And then she's in Money in the Bank with the idea being that if the worst were to happen and she loses the title, she can just immediately cash in for a rematch.
This is true.
Or technically, what if she cashed it in on herself, beat herself? So then technically whoever then has to challenge Carmella has to beat her twice. Has to effectively double eliminate her to be the champion.
I like your moxie, and I can imagine in a strange universe that will be pitched to Vince, and Vince will go, "Good shit, get it going."
Then you can imagine like someone like the only way you can beat her is to beat her twice, and then she'll have like a title defense where she'll get beaten once. The person will start celebrating, and then she'll roll them up and retain.
I like the idea. I think. Maybe a different wrestler other than Carmella.
Oh yeah, totally.
Probably a women's wrestler that has that sort of intensity. I mean, obviously, I guess if Shayna Baszler was on, like, say, like a real, like her NXT day tear of just being able to really knock down any challenger, that would be amazing. But it is what it is. So basically, Morgan is now in Money in the Bank match for the ladies. The lineup has changed again because the tally has now been added. So
where are we at currently with who is in the women's Money in the Bank match?
So we have Vega, Asuka, Naomi, Bliss, Nikki Ash, Liv Morgan, Natalya, with the advantage of there being 4 Raw stars and 3 SmackDown stars.
Do you reckon they'll add someone?
Possibly. I would not be surprised if they did. They might. You never know. This could be like the first SmackDown on Friday could be a great chance to sort of say, hey, Sasha Banks is back, or hey, Becky Lynch is back, in that sort of way. Because there's 8 for the men's. So, so who do you think's winning the women's one?
Based on the lineup we have in front of us now, I want it to be either Nikki or Asuka. But there is an element where I want something different. And I'm going to be honest, I really like what Liv Morgan's doing right now. There's just something about her. She's got a cool look, a cool demeanour to her. I also want to see her basically just make the Money in the Bank briefcase look emo as heck. I want an emo-looking Money in the Bank briefcase. So I'm actually going to say Liv Morgan, partly because of the storyline of her trying to get involved in the match.
Yeah. I think I was reading something that I was reading again. It's like I do like reading like the news, the wrestling news things, just to get some ideas. I don't know if it's like there could be a possible way if Morgan won the case, or there's still something that happens with Morgan that furthers that story in a way, whether that's a beef with DeVille or something like that, or someone else takes her out or something like that. But no, I think Morgan winning would be cool. Part of me thinks maybe not. Part of me thinks looking at her lineup, it's going to be Bliss. I think Bliss is probably the logical favourite here. Asuka won it last year. I'd be amazed if she won it again. And the fact is, at the moment, the booking of the women's wrestlers in WWE's main roster project at the moment has not been great.
It's almost like they know that Ronda Rousey's not going to be back anytime soon.
No.
Therefore, they don't need to be as serious because Ronda Rousey's having a baby girl. Congratulations to her.
Indeed.
But it's almost like they know she ain't going to be back for a long time. Therefore, they don't need to be as serious.
Yeah. So I think the logic choice is Alexa Bliss. I think if I had to pick one that I would like to see, I think seeing Liv Morgan get the case would be nice.
Men's Money in the Bank match. We have got the lineup of Seth Rollins, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E, John Morrison, Ricochet, Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre, and Kevin Owens. It's quite the loaded ladder match, it's got to be said.
It's a star-studded one for the men's. This is a... Ooh.
So, I'll be honest, I would love Kevin Owens to win it because I'm just a massive Kevin Owens fan.
Yeah.
But my gut, based on how things have been going, says Seth Rollins.
I think Seth. I think if the logic choice, so we got what we'd really love to see happen and what we know is probably going to happen. I would love to see Big E take it. I really would, because then that kind of cements the fact that Big E is finally going to be put into the main event picture, because he's been doing very well. He did very well with the Intercontinental Championship. He's had really good matches. He's a homegrown WWE talent as well. So if they're able to give Cesaro a world title shot at least this year, it must be Big E's time.
Give it to Joe. I have no objection to Big E whatsoever. Big E's freaking awesome.
So.
Also, I'm going to make a prediction quickly now.
Yeah.
Matt Riddle is not in the match because he gets RKO'd before it begins.
Or he's about to win the match and he gets RKO'd.
He gets randomly knocked out.
Yeah, one of those two things that happen. That is it's like I said previously. That is why I don't think Randy's been on TV. He's annoyed at Riddle. He's going to make Riddle pay, and we're going to have a SummerSlam match, which will be amazing because I like what they're doing. I like what they're doing there. So yeah, my heart wants Big E. Logically, I can imagine Seth Rollins winning it. But then again, if they're trying to do, and they were teasing it on SmackDown, Rollins Edge, maybe Rollins again comes close, loses it to someone, gets annoyed, interferes with the main event between him and Roman Reigns, to try and say, I deserve a title shot. Nah. And that was my bad Seth Rollins laugh. Nah.
You almost sounded a little bit like Wario. Just saying.
I always imagine Seth Rollins having the laugh like Skeletor's. Nah. Yeah, my final prediction. I think my heart says Big E. Logically, it's a toss-up between Seth and Drew. and I don't want
Will
it
it
to
be
be
Sethry or will it be Drew? Find out this Sunday.
I don't want it to be Nakamura because I hate what they're doing with Nakamura and Rick Boogs at the moment. I do not
What
like
you
those
mean?
characters.
What Kingsuke Nakamura? You're not a fan of it? And whatever his guitarist is called, Rick Boogs.
It's like I personally, when I saw him have his qualifier against Baron Corbin last week, I wanted Baron Corbin to win and win Money in the Bank and have a little redemption arc because of his botched cash-in a couple of years ago.
It is a travesty that WWE have legitimately made you feel bad for Baron Corbin.
But the thing is, I like parts of Baron Corbin. I love his offense. I love End of Days.
Do you like the part when he's not wrestling?
I loved the original theme music with the motorbike going brum, 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 because you knew it was Baron Corbin time, and he sort of stalked across the little lights turning red and just the long hair didn't do much, but I did kind of like Baron Corbin, and I still kind of like parts of him. I'm not being a fan of the King gimmick, I'll be honest. But I think if this sort of change leads to either return of Biker Baron, which was cool, or...
Biker Baron?
Biker Baron!
He comes out to the Biker Mice from Mars theme music. There you go, job done.
Yeah. I think, again, I look at the lineup, but it's like, I can't think what the logical choice is going to be because it might be illogical choices. But I think if anyone on that is to win, I want it to be Big E. That is all I'm going to say on the Money in the Bank match there. Let's move on.
Universal Championship match. Ramondo Reigns defends against Edgy.
Well, this is going to be a quick 10 seconds. Reigns. Not even close.
I think Edge will get a visual pinfall on Roman Reigns, but Reigns will ultimately retain.
Through shenanigans.
There you go. So I'm now to lead into another discussion, but to sort of jump around a little bit here on the title matches. We've also got Charlotte and Rhea Ripley in their never-ending feud of despair, as it were, for the Raw Women's title. What do you say for that? And there's a reason why I'm rushing through this, because I think we can talk about the 3 title matches in a way together in some way. Okay. So what do you think for this match?
I personally would like Rhea to get a full, clean victory over Charlotte and have this feud over and done with. To be perfectly honest,
likewise, I would like an actual win.
Yes, and then Rhea can face off against maybe actually have a decent program with another wrestler on the Raw side of things. Maybe Baszler or something like that. They had good chemistry. Baszler
v Baszler would be great.
They had a great match in NXT when she won the title off her. So there are opportunities there. It's just obviously the booking's not been great. Rhea to win. And please
Likewise,
end the feud, please.
And then we have the WWE Championship match. Will it be Kofi Mania running wild once again, or will the Bobby Lashley? I've just called him the Bobby Lashley because he is the only one.
Well, he's the Almighty. True. You just forgot Almighty.
Oh yeah, he's a My Hero Academia ripoff, isn't he? I forgot. Yeah, so Bobby Lashley. Yeah, the All Might Bobby Lashley.
Well, this is the thing. Raw last night, Xavier Woods beat Bobby Lashley in a non-title.
Oh, really? I don't know anything
in a non-title match. It was kind of, but then again, slight shenanigans, I suppose. But again, roll up, clean, almost virtually kind of clean-esque victory, I suppose. And Lashley's not taken that well. He destroyed the VIP lounge last night and just said to MVP, "I don't want any more of this champagne or ladies bullshit. I just want to go and break people and be a champion proper." So
the most important question: did he destroy the Thunderdome?
No, he did not. He destroyed sofas, tables, plants, champagne, and that was about it.
The perfect opportunity to destroy the Thunderdome, to make people forget about it in a loving way.
Yeah. I think Lashley will retain. I think they're going to continue the run. I think it puts an interesting dynamic that Xavier's had a win over Lashley. Maybe if they do if the desired Lashley Brock match never materializes at SummerSlam, maybe you could have a mini triple threat. Woods, Kofi, Lashley. That makes it sort of like it tests the New Day relationship of, well, who is legitimately the better wrestler. Because I think there's a lot of mileage there in terms of even the New Day guys having a war between them for the belt. And even if, say, Big E gets the Money in the Bank and comes over to Raw, there's a lot there. There is a lot there.
So you've actually played into what I was going to talk about in a second, and to kind of bring our final piece of discussion before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I'm going with a Kofi title win. But I think partly because with the idea... So this now plays into the next part of the discussion. Will there be a Money in the Bank cash-in that night? Don't say which one, but will there be a Money in the Bank cash-in?
I think there'll be a tease. I don't think there'll be a cash-in.
Okay. Wouldn't surprise me if there is one, but here's a hypothetical for you. This is really pie in the sky, but why not? What if Kofi wins, and if Big E had won earlier in the evening, Big E comes out and cashes in, or simply makes it known, I'm cashing in against you. And that's how they have a New Day title match, quite literally.
Could work.
I think that would be really cool. Not even necessarily in a heelish way, but I just think that would be a really cool way just to play on the whole New Day relationship dynamic.
I appreciate
it's a very pie in the sky idea, by the way. I'm literally clutching at straws for that.
I think for that to work, the storytelling has to be on point, because I think if the reasons and if they do it like, oh, we're having a laugh, we're just going to have a good friendly comment. No, I think there needs to be some personal things. Maybe Big E saying, right, you've had your moment in the sun, Kofi. Now it's finally time to have my moment, like you guys said. Because there was that moment when I think it was Woods went off injured as well as Kofi, and they just said to Big E, no, your moment to shine now, son. Off you go. Yeah. Go and do it. So Big E is only doing what they've told him to do. And I think that would make a very good sense of conflict there. But no, there's some options there. There's some options there. It'll be very interesting to see, but I personally think Lashley will retain.
There we go, folks. So Money in the Bank is this weekend. Now, when it comes to forthcoming BunkaManias and whatnot, we will be covering Money in the Bank. Another thing we're going to do as well, and I brought this up to Ian because I thought it would be a nice bit of fun discussion, as it were. And we're working out the particulars of exactly when. Yeah. But this year is it's 20 years since the Invasion pay-per-view in 2001, which was WWF at the time versus WCW and the ECW Alliance.
Yes.
It is it's still to this day, from what I recall, a really fun pay-per-view to watch. I have not watched it in a very long time. But I said to Ian, you know what, let's change tactics a little bit. Let's talk about that at some point soon. Even if we can't tie in exactly to the anniversary. The fact it's in the month of July, it kind of works out. So in the coming weeks, we are going to be talking about the Invasion pay-per-view. We'll just give our thoughts on the show, as it were. Just a fun little show to talk about and whatnot. Maybe give some context as to what was going on at the time and such. So that is going to be a good time. And I imagine on the next episode, it will more than likely be focused on Money in the Bank and perhaps some immediate fallout from that and anything else that occurred on SmackDown. So that's what you've got to look forward to over the coming weeks, everybody. Got a bit of Money in the Bank chatter and probably some AEW, I imagine, as well, given that will be
we'll have a quick catch-up.
Exactly.
On these things.
So that is the plan in the coming weeks, folks. So if you've got any memories of Invasion that you want to convey to us, let us know. And Ian, what is the best way for people to get hold of us on Bunkazilla?
Well, you can contact us by sending an email over to contact@bunkazilla.co.uk. Just put BunkaMania in the subject line so we know it's all about the wrestling chatter. Alternatively, you can get in touch with us by, even if you're watching the video here on YouTube, just comment down below, like, share, subscribe. It'll be great to have your support. As well as that, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Bunkazilla UK.
There you go, folks. From myself, Jeremy Graves, from him, Mr. Iain Boulton, we have been BunkaMania here on Bunkazilla UK. Signing out, and talk to you soon. Bye!
Bye!